What's going on, guys? I hope you are having a great day out there, everybody. So, today we're going to do a little shop time, and we're going to work on the Tekno. We're going to fix the one big flaw with this car as a basher. As you guys know, I mean, this thing, I absolutely love this thing as a basher. However, it has one weak spot. And that is this right here. This big spot right here that has no brace. And it doesn't have a tower-to-tower brace. So this is always a weak spot that's always bending this drive shaft. Or you flex this thing so much that this front center drive shaft blows out of there. So, talking to some people in some past videos on this car. And I apologize, I don't remember who commented on this. But if you're watching this video, you know who you are. And thank you. Went on to eBay and found this. Made by All Racing, and I got it on eBay, and it is a brace that fits in here. I'm not sure. I see some of the points on how they mount up exactly, but I don't know. Like this one right down here, I'm not really sure what that's going to connect to yet. But once I get the center thing out, center diff and everything, hopefully it all makes sense. But guys, hopefully this is going to fix this and turn this thing into one of the best bashers I have. But I love this thing. Absolutely love the handling, the air control. It is actually just on point. However, this has always been the big downfall of this thing. So hopefully we're going to fix this with this. Also, we're going to go over a few little updates on the XMAXX in the last video you guys saw. Had it up for a little bash, the motocross track, and it started having issues again. I think I tracked down what it is. We're going to go over all that and the changes I've made to the XMAXX now. And but first, we're going to go ahead and get the Tekno fitted up and get the new center brace in here and hopefully make this thing one of the ultimate bashers. Okay, so I'm not going to bore everybody with a 30-minute long video here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pop the center diff out of here and the old front plastic little brace it has in the front center drive shaft. Get everything stripped out. You also have to take out this little piece of plastic here. I think this is for another Velcro strap, I do believe, which I'm not utilizing, which I should be actually. Might have to put that in there too. But I'm going to go ahead and strip all this stuff out of here first, and I'll bring you guys back then. Okay, so I got all the plastic bits stripped out of here, the front brace and the rear, or actually kind of say the center piece that was in here, and also was part of the, I'm guessing this is a Velcro strap. I never even noticed it, to be honest with you guys. But anyway, we got her all cleared out here. Everything's open, and I was kind of test fitting the brace here, and everything seems to line up pretty well. Now, this screw hole down here, at least on the ET48 2.0, now the EB might be slightly different. That's what I'm thinking this hole's for, because this brace is for both models, is that this hole here must be set up for something on that car that's different, because when you get this down in here, everything lines up except whatever that is for. So, because there's nothing down there to screw into. It literally kind of lines up right under the hole of the motor mount right there. And I don't see anything to screw that to, so I'm guessing it's not for this car. But I'm going to go ahead and get this mounted in there and start getting it back together. And I'll bring you guys in once this is fitted up and see how it's supposed to look. All right, guys. Well, so far, so good. Everything is lining up nicely. I got one screw partially screwed into the front here, into the front steering brace. And I got one underneath here. Right there, and I was just kind of getting them first lined up and making sure everything is clearing, and everything looks beautiful. I am so excited about this brace, and again, I wish I could remember who commented on this and was mentioning this to me, but maybe it was even more than one person, because I know I seen the comment like twice telling me I need to get this brace for this car if I'm going to use it as a basher. And I looked for it a couple times, and I honestly couldn't find it. And I started searching around a little bit more on eBay and finally came across this thing. And I just want to send a big thank you to whoever you are. Drop a comment down below and take credit for this. But I'm excited to test this thing out because, I mean, it's definitely going to strengthen this whole point up now. You know, you have the rear brace here. I got the M2C Racing chassis on here and the M2C Racing rear brace, which has been keeping the back great and not bending. You know, I haven't had any issues with bending any of the rear drive shaft. But this front, this whole big section has been the weak spot. And this is going to stiffen this whole thing up a lot. So I'm really excited about this and not dealing with this front drive shaft problem anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting this thing mounted up here. And we'll see how it looks. All right, so we got almost all back together. I don't have the cage on here yet, but I just want to show you guys everything is clearing and fitting up beautiful. You know, I've never dealt with this company before, this All Racing. I think it was a company over in Japan or China on eBay. I'll see if I can find the link for it and put it down in the description on this video. But guys, everything is fitting up beautifully. And yes, definitely using blue Loctite on all the screws. Not putting a ton, putting a drop on every single screw that's through the chassis and into this brace. So it's not obviously coming out. But it really looks like it's going to give some great support to this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the diff case mounted on here. And she's going to be ready to go. Also, they do provide you with all new hardware with the kit. So if you're missing anything or need extra screws, got them with there. But let's finish this thing up. Man, guys, that fit up beautiful. You know, sometimes when you get some parts from, you know, over in China, you don't ever know sometimes what you're going to get or the fitment or everything. And I got to tell you, this thing fit beautiful. And I honestly, guys, I know everybody out there that has one of these cars that have turned into a basher is having the same problem. You have to. Because, I mean, I'm constantly blowing that front drive shaft out and bending it really badly. I've pounded this front center drive shaft straight probably a dozen times now. But this really looks like this should cure this problem, and I'm really excited to try this thing out. It's got lots of contact points. I mean, it's got a total of 6 screws holding it into the chassis. Then you got the front and the rear, and it looks like it should hold in there really well. I'm really excited to test this thing out next time. I'm planning on heading out for a ramp bash sometime this weekend with Trevor or down to the skate park, and maybe we'll take it down there and give her a good rip and see how she holds up. I'm pretty hopeful. Really dig the brace. And again, thank you very much for suggesting this. I finally got around to buying one and getting this thing set up proper for bashing. But guys, that's going to do it for the Tekno. I'm going to go ahead and bust out the XMAXX, and now we'll talk about that thing for a minute and show you what I have done to that thing now. All right, so we got the XMAXX out of here. And you guys all know my feelings with the XMAXX. It's a very love-hate relationship. This thing has been either a ton of fun or I want to light it on fire. And there never seems to be any in between. However, first thing you guys are going to notice, we got different ESC in here now, obviously. And we're running some green shocks. And I made some modifications because the other shocks were set up for the lot heavier version of the XMAXX with a huge motor in here and some other things that I have now stripped off of this car. So yes, first things first, changed out the shocks. I had a whole other extra set of shocks here, and I set up the valving different and the oil a lot lighter. I didn't go like stock. It's a little bit heavier than stock, but it's a little more plush now. And the reason being is the suspension prior was set up, like I said, for a lot heavier truck. And after removing the bigger motor and all that stuff out of here, it was entirely too stiff for the current setup. Now, the other day when we had this thing out, we started running into some issues. When I took this thing out there for the bash at the motocross track, got it out there, it would run for about a minute, 45 seconds, and it would go into LVC immediately. At least that's what it acted like. I thought my batteries were dead or charged. However, we checked my batteries with Trevor's battery tester. Batteries were good, so I threw another set of batteries in there. Did the exact same thing. Ran for about less than a minute and acted like it went into LVC. Now, I know a receiver, at least as far as I know, couldn't be causing that. I've heard of servos going bad and causing some weird problems, but not as consistently like that. Like it's on the dot about the same amount of time that it's lasting. So the only thing that really makes sense is the ESC, obviously. Because I would assume if it was a motor, you know, it would either be good or bad or not staying so consistent on a timing of it shutting down. So what I did, obviously, you guys know whenever I had the huge Max 5 in here with the 1100 or the 800 kV motor I had in the giant Coke can, that's what this system was from. I pulled all that out of there because I did not like that power. I did not like that motor in here. This truck just, it doesn't like to go that fast. You know, when you get this thing really flying, I'm started running into a lot of other things breaking on this thing constantly. With the more power comes more speed, comes bigger jumps, and this truck doesn't like that. Especially with the extra weight on there. So what I decided to do now, since I believe it's the ESC, and I'm hoping to take this thing out also sometime this week and give it a fair test. Last night, after putting the system in here, I ran it with the trigger on for probably a good 2 or 3 minutes on and off, and it never shut down, ran beautiful. And also I can tell it's got a lot more spunk to it, obviously, because the stock ESCs, you know, they're always underpowered in Traxxas. So with the Max 5 on here, with the stock motor, feels pretty good. I'm running the 2050 gearing, and I also got some hot racing bits with the servo saver, which has really helped the servo out in this thing. But I'm excited to take this thing out now. The power feels really nice, and hopefully that's the problem with this thing. I mean, if it's still doing the same problem, it's going to be something really weird, because I can't imagine a motor kind of causing a perfect timing as far as this thing shutting down, unless there's something weird heating up with the ESC, I'm sorry, the servo, that's causing it to fault like this, but I wouldn't think it would cause it to go into LVC. So that's what obviously everything is pointing towards the ESC. So we got the Hobbywing Max 5 ESC in here, and we're going to take this thing out for, obviously I had to extend the leads a little bit because the stock motor leads weren't long enough. So I extended those out. We got the M2C Racing top brace on here again, because obviously I had to run this to get the Max 5 in here. And we're also running the M2C Racing wide kit and the chassis brace and a few other odds and ends. But she's kind of in between where I had it before, where it's not all stock and it's not ridiculous with that gigantic Coke cam motor in here. It seems like a good mixture. The suspension feels nice for the weight that's in here. So I'm excited to take the XMAXX out. Hopefully she treats me a little better this time, because I was a little disappointed down at the motocross track the other day with this thing dying on me, not getting to run. I was excited to give this thing some launches down over that big hill, and we fell a little short. But anyway, guys, so that's what's going on with the XMAXX, and I'm excited to take this thing out, and hopefully she treats me a little better. And that's about it, guys. Everything else is actually running at the moment. Guys, you know, there's always this argument between the Kraton 8S or the Outcast 8S and the XMAXX, and what's the ultimate basher. And that comes down to one big factor on what you're doing with it and how big you are wanting to jump it. The XMAXX in its stock form, like we talked about before, can't really destroy itself too much. You can add some power, some gearing, ESC, and they seem to be at that happy point, and they'll stay together for the most part. Kraton 8S, guys, that thing, and you guys have seen all the videos on this thing. I mean, I have been recently beating on this car a lot harder than I ever did when I first got it. And this thing continues to come home every time in one piece. Yes, it's heavier. It's got a metal chassis, but you know what? It's staying together. And I'm able to put a bigger system in that thing and make it faster, and she just keeps on running. So, you know, it all depends on what you want to do, but if you can jump a car and land it, you know, for the most part, pretty properly, you can't go wrong with a Kraton 8S. Yes, they don't like to land sideways as much or on one side. You do tend to snap A-arms a little bit easier, but as you guys seen in my last video down there, this thing landed completely sideways from a decent jump, and it didn't break any. I got the RPM A-arms obviously on here, which worked great on the 8S, but it didn't break anything else. It literally shattered the whole rim out of the thing, but she was still running. So, personally, guys, I love the Kraton 8S. If I had to choose between which one of these two I'm going to take out somewhere for a heavy bash, I'm taking the Kraton 8S. That's just me. But anyway, guys, got the Tekno bigger and better than ever, and I can't wait to test out that brace. Everything else is actually running now, and everything's ready for a bash. Unfortunately, you know, it's getting to be wintertime, and some days are a little hit and miss, but we're going to go out there and freeze anyway and have some fun in the snow. But anyway, appreciate any guys joining in on the little shop time video, and that's going to do it. So until next time, y'all be safe, be careful out there. Peace out, everybody.